Hola, ¿cómo están? Gonza, Botquito por acá. Bueno, bienvenidos a otro Insight. Perdonen que anduve un poquito perdido, pero bueno, como saben, se viene Wipe, se viene el próximo parche dentro de muy poco. Y todo lo que, estemos juntando dinero y todo se va a borrar. Así que medio que al pedo jugar. Y creo que muchos están en la misma. Pero hoy salió un Insight con información creo que muy buena porque va a hablar sobre un poco de la 3.19 y sobre los cambios que se vienen en la minería. Estoy con Mauro acá. Hola, Maurito, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, buenas
Bienvenido.
tardes.
Así que vamos a ver. No lo vimos. Vamos a ver qué. No sé, a ver qué nos dice Gerard. ¿Qué nos dice?
Just when we think we're out, you all pull us back in. The mining profession journey has been one of the most collaborative in all of Star Citizen, with no shortage of player feedback and game systems that have been designed for flexibility and iteration. The upcoming Alpha 319 is set to bring with it a whole host of fixes and evolutions to improve the ways that players make their fortunes in the future.
Okay. Mi prospector.
Yeah, so the last time we said that we don't do anything about mining anymore and we leave it at rest. I think it was even when we introduced the mining gadget, so it was quite a while ago.
Sí.
And yeah, well, here we are, sitting here again and explaining to you why we actually had to retouch or wanted to take mining to the next level. So here we are,
Piedra más grande, por favor.
giving you something more to enjoy with mining gameplay.
Piedra más grande. ¿Sabes por qué están haciendo esto? Porque uno, para que la mole tenga un propósito, y dos, por la nave nueva minera que se viene. Me parece.
So when we left mining, we thought it was already in a good state. So even introducing with the mining gadget, we introduced from our perspective, a nice little different approach on mining. So you have to leave your ship, attach the mining gadget to the rock, then get back into the ship, and then do your mining procedure. Sí. And we also thought that it will help with difficulty, so that especially new players can buy a mining gadget to bring down resistances of the rock drastically, so they have an easier mining experience.
Okay.
What we didn't have in mind is that we also have to facilitate expert miners that still need a challenge there. So what we tackled is a general balancing pass. That is, we adjusted all the items, all mineable heads, all mining heads, all sub-items that
¿Cómo, Mauro?
Rebalanceo total, borrón y cuenta nueva.
Sí, por eso, porque...
you attach to the mining head. The mining gadgets, everything now has different values. We cleaned it up drastically. So it is now clearer what are the positives of what mining head, what are the positives of a sub item, what are the positives of a mining gadget, and what are the negatives that come with it. And this is more important now because we also touched the minables themselves. So all the minables that you find now have different values in terms of their resistance, in terms of their instability. So what we try to do is match certain mining heads with certain materials or resources that you find. So you will have mining heads that go better with, for example,
bueno, a lo que voy, que le suban los precios, que el cuantaño no sea el único ítem que sea bueno, ¿entendés? Como que haya variedad. Porque si no todo el mundo...
Claro, no, lo que está diciendo que ahora que va a haber mucho más variedad de cabezales y funciones
y todo nuevo.
Y gadgets.
Aprender a mirar de nuevo.
Todo va a ser diferente, sí.
Sí, ve, yo por eso digo, ¿para qué hacer un video de esto si va a cambiar todo? Seguro van a tocar algo, ¿eh? Tac. Igual, esto por la 3.19, gente, falta mucho. Pero bueno, a ver.
And others that might go better with iron.
Aluminio?
And this directly leads to the next thing. So we introduced finally iron. And iron is a ship exclusive mineable for now. We also introduced some new resources like Genelite. Genelite is exclusively found in caves. and it's
Yeah.
only mineable with FPS. And the reason
Yeah.
why we wanted to introduce that
Con la
is
multitud.
that, like, from the data that we gather from all of you playing, is no one uses FPS mining
Claro,
as a
exactamente.
game mechanic outside of the prison. So we wanted to make it more
Que nadie usa la pistolita, la multitool, con el coso de minería. Únicamente lo usan para salir de la cárcel, en la cárcel para minar, pero después fuera nadie lo usa, entonces como que no tiene sentido. Entonces como que parece que van a implementar algo roto para que la gente se haga minar con pistolita.
attractive to players
gusta.
to
Sí, me gusta también.
use a multi-tool with a mining attachment other than just having it attached because you found it. So right now we want you to try out the new caves, find the new mineable, and I can guarantee you that it is really profitable to bring that with you.
Mira.
It's not as profitable as the mining as a profession, because if it's your day-to-day job, but it's like a nice golden nugget that you can find on your exploration tool. So next time you are in the caves, better bring
Está
the
feliz, lo
mining
hago. ¿Se haga mucha plata eso?
attachment with your multi-tool.
Es que está diciendo que ahora, a partir de en el que vayamos y exploremos las cuevas y que nos fijemos si encontramos esta, porque es tu pepita de oro. Capaz que una piedra, no sé, hace 300.000. Es como que va a tener mucho sentido minar ahora o ir a buscar esta piedrita. No sé si habrá muchas piedras, pero cuando las encontré me imagino que va a salir muchísimo. Qué bueno. Está buenísimo, boludo. Dice Obi, si va a ser muy difícil aumentar el valor de cuando vamos a ir a cambiar las nuevas cuevas entonces como pirata. No, Obi. ¿Cómo va a
We
decir eso?
additionally cleaned up the way that resources are distributed throughout Stanton. And this is because we want to make resource gathering future-proof. With the introduction of crafting that will come further down the road, with this first implementation with the hull scraping gameplay, so you already got a glimpse of it. But what is important there is that we get a better control of where to find certain materials. And also, from our perspective, it's more interesting for players to know where they have to go to find certain material types. So what we did is
¿Qué hiciste?
we defined standard
De
materials
distribución.
and quality or like rarity-based materials. Standard materials are something like copper, like iron, like something that you know from real life is used in basically every item that you find around. And those have distinct locations now within Stanton. For example, aluminum you can only find around Crusader, where copper you can only find around Microtech, which, so as a disclaimer, this can change during our development, but just to give you an idea that we now have distinct location where you can find these defined standard materials. That doesn't mean that you cannot find the standard materials
En otros lugares.
elsewhere. There are chances of you finding them elsewhere, especially asteroid belts get more attractive because they have a more diverse spectrum of materials. But on the planet side, like you know from Earth, we just have very distinct locations where you can find those rare earths. And what we also introduced is that each of the standard material always have certain more rare or rarer materials associated with them. So this gives you a glimpse of where we are going, where our intention is to have star systems with exclusive materials that you need for your crafting. So you have to travel to a certain star system to get the material that you need for whatever
¿Qué dijo en
item you
inglés,
would like to
Crafteo?
create.
Está diciendo, no sé, se está yendo mucho más adelante. Como que
Claro, va a haber ciertos materiales que van a
En
haber
ciertos lugares.
en ciertos sistemas, dijo.
claro, sistema, por eso, como que vas a tener que viajar a otro sistema.
Va a tener que viajar, pero
Para-
dijo crafteo en inglés, por la palabra elaboración.
A ver,
Always have certain more rare or rarer materials associated with them. So this gives you a glimpse of where we are going, where our intention is to have star systems with exclusive materials that you need for your crafting. So you
Sí.
have to travel to a certain
Yeah.
star system to get the material that you need
Se
for
están preparando
whatever
todo para
item you
el
would like to
crafteo de
create.
herramientas y cosas.
sí.
there are
Eso,
two more things
está bueno eso, boludo. En vez de vender los materiales, los podés guardar y con eso podés craftear. Espectacular.
that we
Claro, y si hay algo que necesitas, va a estar en la otra punta del universo.
Claro.
Algo exclusivo de aquel sistema.
Sí, o capaz vos vivís en ese universo y tenés que venir acá. Es todo un tema, está bueno.
So one thing that we noticed is that mining is a difficult profession. And
pues
we
eso
want
yo
to
mirando.
make the obstacle less threatening for new players, and that means that we
No.
improved our mining UI a little.
The old mining UI was one of the
Sí.
most
Dice que van a mejorar la interfaz de la minería. Porque parece que es un poquito complicado. Lo vamos a hacer un poco más friendly, más fácil para la gente nueva.
Eso es actual.
develop UIs in the
Parece, ¿no?
game. It
Sí.
was one of the most readable already, but we discovered some improvements we could add to it to make it
A ver.
more enjoyable to the players. But we had like some slight issues with you could say clutter, basically, with the center part of the screen with too many elements flashing. So for the next update, we
Bien.
move some elements together. For example, we move the mining throttle next to the power charge of the asteroid, since those two elements are semantically related.
Fíjate a la izquierda. Pusieron eso es nuevo, esa barra nueva a la izquierda. Porque
Sí,
ahora,
como que tenés que mantenerte en ese verde para mantener el óptimo, parece, ¿no?
claro, entre la distancia y entre la distancia será. Y acá abajo, el laser, la intensidad del láser que antes estaba acá a la izquierda, lo pusieron acá abajo. Espectacular.
We've
Ah,
added
esa es
one-
tenés
¿Viste?
razón, es la distancia, lo de la izquierda,
Y acá pusieron la intensidad del
y,
láser.
y ahí la intensidad más chiquitita. Claro, la intensidad estaba a la izquierda grande antes.
Claro.
range bar to the left with all the ranges you need to keep in mind, like scanning, blast radius, and mining range of your head. We shuffle less relevant UI elements to the bottom of the screen to clear up space on the center part and
Perfect.
on what you are looking at. We've also changed the display of scanning
Se ve más
to make
nítido.
it less disruptive to the mining experience, and we've improved a little on a bunch of things like color and element positions within each card of the screen to make it more readable.
So now it is easier for you to see what distance you have to keep from the rock, what dangers you encounter on the rock, how your mining head actually is set up right now, and all the parameters that you need to know if the rock that you are targeting is actually mineable. For that, we even added a little helper that basically tells you, hey, it is very doable, it's an easy mining approach, it's a challenging mining approach, or it's an impossible one. Because now there will be impossible one. And this is where our last change
Ahora habrá
for
uno
this
imposible,
update
¿viste?
comes in, which
Ajá.
is multi-crew mining. We
Vamos.
Anterior.
thought
Ahí está,
that
multicrew
the
minería.
size of the rocks and the power it
Vamos.
required
Exacto.
for multiplayer mining
está, lo
was
que yo dije, boludo.
sufficient. But especially with the mining gadgets, you could bring down the resistance so much that like multi-crew mining wasn't as needed anymore as we actually intended.
Exactamente.
And
el
that's the
multicrew no
benefit
existe.
of having a game
Pedo la
in a live
ahora.
environment where you,
Una
as the
piedra de
community,
10.000,
create
20.000,
videos,
decime,
create reviews, post like comments on the spectrum that you are basically not as satisfied with the gameplay as you would like to be, and this is now our opportunity, and we saw the need in it to make it even more future-proof for all the upcoming systems. So we wanted to encourage players using the mole in a cooperative environment. And what we think lore-wise was that what makes sense and was an easy win for us was that because you are sharing one system, one computer
chip,
on your
claro.
mole, you basically have a way to synchronize your mining lasers.
Sí.
And by that, you get the benefit while sitting in a mole to decrease the instability of the targeted
Sí.
rock drastically. So if you compare this with a prospector hitting the same rock with, like if you have 3 prospectors hitting the same rock, you will get a punishment basically in terms of instability.
Castigo.
So we wanted to
Chao,
make
la
sure that it's still solvable.
múltiple
If you are an
prospector.
expert miner, you can counter the instability there. But it's more effort that you have to put into it compared to a mole, where with you have a high...
¿Entendieron lo que van a hacer? Ahora, antes con Mauro íbamos y minamos una piedra entre los dos. Ahora ya no se va a poder. Va a seguir estando con mucha inestabilidad. Únicamente si la mole va a poder hacer eso, que en diferentes láser va a poder hacerle mucho esta...
Se viene la mole.
Se viene la mole y se vienen cambios muy grandes para la minería, para un solo player, ¿eh? No va a ser tan
Pero viste
fácil.
que totalmente al revés. ¿Viste cuando le metió el segundo láser que la franja verde, en vez de crecer como lo hace ahora, se disminuyó el espacio verde del optimal ahí?
Make sure that
Con
the
dos
but it's
prospectors.
solvable with
Este de acá.
to synchronize your mining lasers. And by that,
¿Viste?
you get the
Le metió el
benefit
segundo láser y
while sitting in
disminuyó
the
el
mole
óptimo.
to decrease the
el
instability of
terrible
the
nerfeo que
target
van a hacer.
rock drastically. So if you compare this with a prospector hitting the same
Bueno, ahí
rock
porque no debe
with,
tener
like if you have
cabezal,
3 prospectors hitting the same rock, you will get a punishment basically in terms of instability. So we wanted to make sure that it's still solvable if you are an expert.
Ok, lo que está diciendo ahí es que si vos usas 2 prospector, el optimal va a crecer un poquito, va a ser mejor, pero la inestabilidad va a ser mucho más grande. La inestabilidad de
Voy a
la
poner
piedra va a subir.
el numerito del
Miner, you can
atrás.
counter
¿Ponlo
the
atrás un poquito?
So
El numerito de la inestabilidad, a ver. ¿Cuánto está ahí? Inestabilidad 4.5.
¿Ves? Está 1.69 y pasa al 3 veces más.
Sí.
Cuando el otro le puso la prospector.
same rock with, like
Yo
if
lo-
you
yo
have
lo veo
3
bien, qué sé yo.
prospectors hitting the same rock, you will get a
A mí no me gusta. Porque salíamos a mirar entre 2 y nos cagábamos de risa. Ahora tenemos que salir a la mole.
punishment basically in terms of instability. So we
¿Ves?
wanted to
Subió
make
9 de
sure
inestabilidad.
that it's still solvable. If you are an expert miner, you can counter the instability there. But it's more effort that you have to put into it compared to a mole, where with you have a high instability rock and you have 2 friends or 3 friends, you better pick your mole over the
Claro, ahora va a estar mucho mejor, va a estar más bueno salir a mirar con la mole. Sí o sí. La mole va a estar rota. Porque uno maneja, los dos minamos y entre los dos, en vez de agarrar 2 prospectos, nos compramos una mole. Ahora tiene sentido tener una mole. Mucho sentido.
3 prospectors because you will have an easier mining experience picking the
Reventaron
mole.
todo.
And there's one more thing that ties in with the difficulty or increase of difficulty that we intended with this update, and that basically brings us back to the resources and the update that we did for the resources. Something we didn't have before, but we will now introduce, is
¿Qué?
that each resource composition will have an effect on the weight or on the mass of the mineable. So that means there are certain materials that are heavier and therefore harder to crack. So you definitely need to bring friends to be able to crack the stone with the super dense materials in comparison to resources that are less dense and are more porous. So you will have an easier life or easier mining.
¿Y va a ser más difícil de
approach
minar
with
con
that.
Tanium?
This will not make single player mining worthless. It
Okay.
will make it
Ojalá
more
que no.
interesting, for sure. Because like we also will update a little bit of the trading, so it is
Ojo.
even more valuable, or you get more profit out of even
¿Estás viendo esta imagen? ¿Qué
Poderoso.
Este es un pirata. Esperando que salga este a vender. ¿No ves? Que lo está mirando.
Sí.
Dice, aún más valioso ustedes lo que está diciendo que ahora.
like we also will update a little bit of the trading, so it is even more valuable, or you get more profit out of even the less the less rare materials, because the redistribution of the resources, suddenly there is a demand at the other side of the universe for aluminum, for example. So you might wonder when this update will be available to you. And I have some good news. So you might have seen the content that we put in this video already. So it is already in a playable state for us, but not only that. Right now we are on a good track to have it inside or have it part of the next major release after our 3.18 patch. We are very confident that it will be in 3.19.
Muy bien.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that resources are being redistributed throughout the Stanton system and include new additions to vehicle and FPS minables. That the UI continues to evolve and improve the player experience. And that balancing changes to everything from heads to consumables to gadgets and to the resources themselves means that Alpha 3.19 will bring a thoroughly updated experience to miners when it arrives later this year. Now, as for Alpha 3.18, it's available to all players now in OpenPTU, so don't miss your chance to get in there and bang on the pipes, as it were, to help us get things to a live release. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all here next week.
Chao, Jared. ¿Qué decías, Mauro? Antes de terminar.
Que va a haber redistribución de recursos también, o sea, ya no va a ser solo rentable el Quantanium.
Sí, Quantanium. Está hablando del aluminio ahí. Dicen que va a salir caro y que ahora parece que el trading de ir a vender a otro lugar va a valer más. Como que no va a valer más 88.000 ahora el Quantanium y la otra, sino que va a valer capaz 100, 120.
Depende de la oferta y la demanda.
Claro, pero bueno. Pero parece que va a ser un poco mejor. Bueno, buenísimo. Buen insight. Prepárense, gente, que se va a tener que aprender a minar de nuevo en Star Citizen, ¿eh? Olvídense de lo anterior. Bueno, así que nada, gente, nos vemos en el próximo Insight el jueves que viene. Seguro va a estar Maurito y ya el Peluca va a estar. Ya el Peluca vuelve el sábado, así que ya no está de vacaciones y seguro va a estar. Así que, bueno, nada de eso. Como dijo Jared ahí, bájense el PTU, que es el server de prueba. Pruébenlo, jueguenlo, rómpanlo, porque cuanto más ayudemos a probar el parche este y más rápido arreglen, más rápido sale el live para todo el mundo. Yo creo, no quiero hablar al pedo, pero capaz que la semana que viene sale. Capaz. Viernes de la otra semana, falta igual, una semanita. Así que bueno, gente, nos vemos en el próximo video. No se olviden de darle like, coméntenme qué les pareció, qué les gustaría que saquen o que pongan a la minería. Y nada, no se olviden de suscribir, que me ayudan un montón. Así que nada, nos vemos, Maurito, en el próximo jueves.
Nos vemos.
Chau, chau.